Nalini, your camera looks much better, by the way.
Also, we're live.
Yeah, I just scrubbed it a little bit after like 10 years. Okay, thank you
It
so much.
worked.
I'm
Jai.
really sorry about the background noise. There's nowhere else to go, but just think of
Can't
it
hear
as
it.
okay, that's good then. Because there's some like beeping noise and construction stuff. But okay, I'm gonna start now. So happy Govardhan Puja and Deepavali to everybody. Um, Today I am singing Vande Girivar Dharapada Kamalam. Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam. Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam. Kamala Kamalanchita Amala Kamala Kamalanchita Amala Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Dvaja Vrajanakushapangkajakalita Brajavanita Kucha Kumkumalalitam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Manjulamani Nupura Ramaniya Manjulamani Nupura Ramaniya Achapalakula Ramani Kamaniyam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Atilohitam Atirohita Bhasha Atilohitam Atirohita Bhasha Madhu Madhupi Krita Govindadasam Madhu Madhupikrita Govindadasam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Vande Girivara Dharapada Kamalam Giri Govardhan Maharaj Maharaj तेरे माथे मुकुट विराज रयो गिरि गोवर्धन महाराज महाराज तेरे माथे मुकुट विराज रयो तेरे माथे मुकुट विराज रयो तेरे माथे मुकुट विराज रयो गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन महाराज महाराज तेरे माथे मुकुट विराज रयो हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे तेरे सब संकट मिट जाए तो पूजा कर गोवर्धन की, 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 तो पूजा कर गोवर्धन की। जय गिरी राजा जय गोवर्धना, गिरिराजा जय गोवर्धना, जय गिरिराजा जय गोवर्धना, गिरिराजा जय गोवर्धना। कृष्ण है कृष्ण है कृष्ण है कृष्ण है, जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे। गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा, गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय, प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा, प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौर हरि बोल। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौर हरि बोल। श्री गिरिराज गोवर्धन महाराज की जय। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरि बोल।
Jai Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Juki Jai Radha Damodar Juki Jai Radha Raman Juki Jai Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai Radha Govinda Juki Jai Radha Gopinath Juki Jai Radha Shamasundar Juki Jai Jai Nitalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Mahabhagavad Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Sachita Ananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Vaishnava Sarvamoma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Gaurivedanta Charja Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Shri Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Roy Ramananda Adi Gaura Parshavani Ki Jai Namacharya Shaharas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Zagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Antardip Mayapur Sri Mantradip Godumadip Madhudip Koladip Rudadip Janudip Modadumadip Rudadip Atma Shri Navadip Tam Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Govardhan Dvarasunatmaka Shri Bhaj Mandal Ki Jai Shri Mahavan Kamyavan Maruvan Talavan Kamudavan Bandiravan Vrindavan Kandiravan Lohavan Bhadravan Bahulavan and Balvan, the 12 forests of Vrindavan Ki Jai Jai Shri 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 Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radharani Ki Jai Shrimati Lalita, Shrimati Vishaka, Aryasta Sakya Vinda Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Manjari, Shri Rati Manjari, Adi Manjari Vinda Ki Jai, Purnamasi Devi Ki Jai, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Gopaswami Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshan, Chakraju Ki Jai, Bhakta Vignavidhan Sri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Raj, Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Bhuvana Mangala Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Brihat Pradanga Ki Jai, Shri Braj Mandal Parikram Ki Jai, Urdhvat Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan Annakuta Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai, Giriraj Parikram Ki Jai, Ananda Gauri Vaishnavini Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Prema Nande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranams Maharaj. Thank you so much for that. And thank you to Nalini Didi for that beautiful kirtan. I'll just do a very short Mangalichan. Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaye Priyatmani Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasachara Shatarine. First of all, I want to offer my unlimited Dandavat Pranams into the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaj, onto our entire Rupanuga Guru Varga, onto all the assembled devotees, especially to Sri Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaj and to Bhaktivedanta Vaikanis Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams devotees, and welcome to day 16 of the Bhakti Zoom Parikrama. Today is a very auspicious day, Govardhan Puja, and our first speaker is Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaj. Maharaj, floor is yours.
Dandavat Charava, thank you so much, thank you so much. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadaraye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Om Agnyatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So yes, such a very, very auspicious day today. We're sitting in Giridhari Gaudiya Math 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Everything very, very, very busy. Everyone running around hectically, first thing in the morning with their preparations. And we've got this colored paper that we're putting across the top of the preparation. They're all in baskets. And everyone's jostling around to get a basket for their head to carry through the streets of Govardhan. And there's the whole of Govardhan is on. It's always a festival, like we said before, but today is the festival of festivals of festivals. Everyone is singing, dancing. There's just a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere around. And we were just discussing before that practically no one sleeps the night before because the loud crackers and fireworks. It's like a war zone practically. So everyone's stretched with their energy capacities. But our principal intention, of course, today is we're focusing on the glories of Giriraj Govardhan. And also we worship the cows today. We traditionally bring a hopefully somewhat docile cow onto the front lawn at Giridhari Gaudiya Math. Sometimes it's been quite a cantankerous cow, and we haven't been able to get close to her. But symbolic of the many cows that Krishna, yes, this is the festival. And Krishna, of course, he has 108 types of cows and 4 different colors, white, red, black, and yellow. And they're in 25 subdivisions. And there's 100 types of different cows. So there's a whole description. If you choose to look in the commentary, in the 10th canto, 35th chapter, text 19. It's a very beautiful commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, describing all the colors and the arrangements of the cows. and their particular individual uniqueness. So we worship the cows today. We put tilak on their bodies. We smear our hands with haldi paste, with tilak paste, and then put that on the cows, and we feed grasses and war and chant and so on. But it's a very sweet festival. But our principal focus still is on Giriraj. So we understand, we said the other day, this beautiful verse, this Hantaryam Adir Abala Haridasavarya, Yadarama Krishna Charanas Varsha Pramoda, Manuntanita Saha Gokanayasta, Paniya Suryavas Kandare Kandare Mulai. This verse is glorifying Giriraj as the Haridasavarya. And we were describing how there were two other Haridases. That was Yudhisthira Maharaj and Uddhav. But Giriraj Govardhan himself is that supreme Haridasavarya. He takes precedence over everyone else because he's compared to the Saubhagya Tilak, the emblem of victory and fortune on Braj itself. Giriraj directly has manifested from the heart of Srimati Radhika. All in existence manifests ultimately from Sri Radhika as Swarup Shakti. But Giriraj in particular manifests. Braj would be nothing without Giriraj. So there's a history of how Giriraj arrived here in Braj that we like to tell on this particular day, at this particular time. So Pulastya Rishi, one of the Sapta Rishis, was traveling in the Himalaya, and he saw this beautiful hill of Govardhan, very verdant green grasses, beautiful trees, lakes, waterfalls, etc. And he desired it to be brought to his ashram near Varanasi. He was desiring this. So he requested Giriraj, will you come with me to my ashram? And Giriraj said, only if my father agrees, Dronachal. So Pulastya Rishi inquires from his father Dronachal, can I take your son Govardhan to my ashram in Varanasi? And Dronachal, he agrees. But then Giriraj, he says, I will come under one condition, that if you put me down along the way, I will remain where I am. You can't lift me up twice. You can only lift me once by your mystic power and by my desire to be lifted by you. Giriraj Maharaj has his own desire. Pulastya Rishi has his mystic power. So between the two of them, they were able to actually transport him through the airways. So Pulastya Rishi is carrying Govardhan through the airways. And when they come to the beautiful land of Braj Mandal, then Giri Maharaj becomes trembling in ecstasy. And he realizes, he understands, this is the land where my Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar will perform his pastimes in the not too distant future. Actually, this happens in Satya Yuga, this pastime, when the mountains were still flying and Indra hadn't chopped all their wings off yet. So when he sees this beautiful land of Braj, then he puts some pressure on his weight on Pulastya Rishi, who's carrying. So the Pulastya Rishi feels that he has to go to the bathroom. He feels that pressure because of the weight. He's increased his weight. So Pulastya comes down into Braj and places Govardhan on the ground, and then he goes to perform his ablutions, etc. But when he returns, he tries to pick up Govardhan, and Govardhan is not moving an inch. And then he loudly is requesting Govardhan. Govardhan is saying, but I told you, if you put me down, I will remain in that place. I won't get up again. So then Pulastya Rishi, who is a great sage, one of the Sapta Rishis, born from the body of Lord Brahma, becomes very angry, and he curses Giriraj at that time to sink 1 mustard seed per day. At that time, it's described that Giriraj Maharaj is 64 miles long, 40 miles wide, huge. So this is very much in Krishna's favor, in Giriraj's favor, because shrinking 1 mustard seed a day brings him down to the present size we have today. And 5,000 years ago, it's described that Giriraj Maharaj was only 2 miles high, which is higher than Mount Everest today, practically, but only 2 miles high, which was perfect for Krishna's many secretive pastimes on the slopes of Govardhan, huge mountaintop. So Giriraj has to remain there, and he's absorbing that curse every single day. We've seen in our lives, I can remember coming here first in the 80s, early 80s, 1980, and seeing, before we come to Govardhan, quite a prominent feature of the rocks of Govardhan, and they no longer exist today. So that's a span of 45 years. We've seen it actually become reduced physically. So this is going down 1 mustard seed per day. And in some places, it's actually under the ground now. But nevertheless, the atmosphere and potency of Giriraj Maharaj remains the same. So this is the first time that Giriraj Maharaj was picked up. And then the second time was, of course, during Ram Leela in Treta Yuga, when Ram was building his bridge to Lanka. All the monkeys, they dispersed all across Bharatvarsham, bringing huge rocks, etc., for that bridge to Lanka. And Hanuman, he comes here to Govardhan, and he wants to pick him up. And first of all, he tries, and then he tries harder. Hanuman is so powerful. And then he's sweating. He tries with all. Then he realizes, oh, this is a very sacred person. I must circumambulate first, and then I'll try to lift him. So he circumambulates 3 times. And then he offers prayers to Giriraj. And then Giriraj Maharaj wants to know where he wants to take him. So Hanuman relates the story of Ram Leela to him. Giriraj Maharaj is blown away. He's completely entranced. He wants to take part in the pastimes. He makes himself light so that Hanuman can pick him up. But the very second he's come off the ground, there's an aerial voice. It says, the bridge to Lanka is complete. So Hanuman immediately puts him down. But Giriraj Maharaj is not satisfied. He said, no, you can't leave me like this. You told me about Ram Leela, and now you're just going to leave me here and go. You have to remain, you have to stay here. So Hanuman is the perfect Brahman, actually. And he promises Giriraj Maharaj he will come back in a few moments and pacify him. So Hanuman jumps to Lanka just before on the, what is it, that Kumara, before they go onto the bridge. What's the bottom of India called? Kanyakumari? Kanyakumari, yes. Kanyakumari. He jumps back to there. And then he tells Ram the whole part, and Ram sees in his vision exactly who is Giriraj. And then he's astonished. You were going to bring Giriraj for my bridge? And then he says, no, it's better that he remains there. And you tell him, you whisper into his ear, that when you come in your Krishna Leela, you will perform pastimes all over his body. Not only you yourself, but all your sakas and your sakis and all your cows and the calves, they will all perform pastimes, tremendous pastimes. So Hanuman, he jumps back and he relates the beautiful Krishna Leela that's about to happen in the next Dwapara Yuga at the end, in many thousands of years on from there. And Giriraj Maharaj, he hears this and then he's satisfied. Then he allows Hanuman to go. So this was the second time that Giriraj Maharaj has been picked up. And of course, the third time was by the desire and arrangement of Krishna himself. When Krishna thwarted Indra's yagya to be worshipped by the Brijvasis, then Indra, in his fury and rage, decided to release the clouds of devastation, those Samvartaka clouds. They were bound with ropes of wind, and they cut those ropes, and all the demigods collectively tried to wipe out the whole of the village of Braj. The inundation was just monstrous. They tried to murder every resident of Braj. Indra was so angry. This was a huge offense. We should appreciate just the extent of how much Indra, because it wasn't only him, he involved all the other demigods. Agni Dev, he involved Vayu, he involved, who else? All. I said Agni already. So he involved all the devas in trying to destroy Braj. Now, Krishna, he could have very easily have thought up on an alternative to save the lives of the Brijvasis. He didn't have to lift Govardhan Hill, but because he wants to glorify this greatest of devotees, because the gopis themselves, they refer to Govardhan as that Haridas Avarya, that greatest of all devotees. Krishna himself wants to take service to that greatest of devotees. Krishna gets the most pleasure when he himself is serving his devotees. Krishna is saying, there are so many beautiful verses. He says, Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika Mai Sanjayate Bhakti. Worshipping my devotees is better than worshipping me, for by this devotion naturally arises. And then he says again that Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasya Parataram Devi Tadyanam Smarshanam. When Devi is speaking to Shivji, Parvati is speaking to Shivji, and Shivji is relating who is the greatest and who is great. There is no one greater than Vishnu except that person who is worshipping Vishnu. He is more worshipable than Vishnu himself. So Krishna, he takes up this task of glorifying his devotee, but in such a powerful, dramatic way. He makes Giriraj the hero of the whole of Braj for 7 solid days. Already Giriraj is a great, great devotee, but now he becomes even greater. He's held on the left hand, on the smallest finger of Krishna for 7 days, and all the Brijvasis are encouraged to come beneath the mountaintop. Srila Jiva Goswami describes that under the mountain of Govardhana, there's like a whole village is actually already there. It's already placed. There's pens for the cows. There's all foodstuffs. There's all drink. There's all, everything that is required. Everything's required. There's lamps and so on for the whole village to take refuge while all this torrential rain is falling. This is not just rain. This is absolute torrential rain. It's described that it was falling like the trunks of an elephant. The rain was just colossal. Indra was trying to smash the residents of Braj. And it's described that Sudarshan Chakra was swirling above to protect the actual, to dry up a lot of the water from entering underneath. Excuse me. Entering underneath Govardhan, because the water the water obviously the water obviously wanted to enter underneath Govardhan, but it couldn't because the Sudarshan Chakra was evaporating it. Excuse me. They were lighting crackers all last night. I think this is effective all the gunpowder smoke in the atmosphere. Anyway, Lord Shivji puts his Trishul above Govardhan, and that deflects all the lightning bolts that are coming from Indra's Raja weapon. his thunderbolt. So the residents underneath are relishing this whole week. They're spending 7 days and 7 nights. Jiva Goswami relates that it seems like 20 minutes have passed, but it's actually it's 7 days. But to the residents of Braj, it seems like 20 minutes because they're singing the whole time. Krishna even has his flute in his hand. Mother Yashoda is standing in front of Krishna and she's trying to feed him makkan and yogurt. And Krishna, he's relishing this opportunity to gaze at the Brijvasis. And of course, the Brijvasis are mesmerized. This is the first time ever that they have 7 continuous days where they can just bathe in the darshan of Krishna. And they're intoxicated by Krishna's beauty at this time. Krishna is just standing on a little mound like you've seen in many paintings, holding up this massive mountain. Of course, none of the Brijvasis think that Krishna's holding up the mountain. Some of them think that Govardhan has spread his wings again. Others think that, yes, we have a nice picture. The cowherd boys think that their sticks are holding up. And Nanda Baba thinks that it's because his worship of the Shila, the Shalagram, is keeping Govardhan in the air. But actually, and Radhika has told Govardhan, if you drop down even a fraction of a seed, I will incinerate you. So actually Radhika is the one who is holding up Govardhan. So this beautiful pastime unfolds for a whole week where Krishna himself is serving the Brijvasis and he's glorifying Govardhan. Therefore, he's glorifying his own devotee. Because we remember when the Annakuta festival was going on before Indra began to try to decimate them with his rain clouds, they offered all the Annakuta preparations. And then Govardhan himself, which is Krishna, manifests as that mountain and takes all those. And Krishna at that time is offering obeisances to Govardhan. So in every instance, Krishna himself is relishing this opportunity to serve his great devotee of Giriraj. Yes, I said 2 miles high. That's how high he was during Krishna's Leela. So this is a nectarine pastime. It's such a magical pastime that, 64 miles long, I had said. Someone is trying to say 64 miles high. We're getting different chats coming in between here. Previously, he was 64 miles long, and then he was reduced by the size of a mustard seed daily. So by the time he actually manifested himself during Krishna's pastimes, he was much less than that. But he was 2 miles high, it's described. So the Brijvasis are absolutely relishing the darshan of Krishna. And Krishna is steadily gazing at the Brijvasis. And we heard the other day, I think it was Shuddhareti Maharaj was describing how there's a time when Krishna actually looks towards Radhika and begins to tremble a little bit. Thank you, Varsha. Thank you. Begins to tremble a little bit. But Baladev, he quickly gives Krishna a really direct gaze. Don't look at the gopis, otherwise you might drop this mountain. I mean, can you imagine? This is a massive, massive mountain that all the residents of Braj are sitting on, standing under, gazing at Krishna. So this beautiful, immaculate pastime takes place in Braj to glorify Giriraj Govardhan, who we're glorifying especially today. And the Acharyas, they've glorified him so beautifully. Raghunath Das, he describes Govardhan in his Brajavilas Stava. He says, may Govardhan Hill, who was lovingly held up on the graceful hand of Sri Krishna, who was eager to protect Gokul. He's protecting his family members for 7 days, who was thus given the honor of a worshipful personality by the Lord is honoring him by raising him up like this. It's his savor to Giriraj, whose caves are covered by the saffron which has fallen from Sri Gandharva and Giridhari's bodies during their loving pastimes, and whose boulders are like beautiful jeweled couches for the divine couple to sit on. May he protect us. So this is from Raghunath Das's Brajavilas Stava. And then we have the beautiful Astakam that, oh, this is a beautiful picture. That, again, Raghunath Das writes, I'm just going to read a couple of these verses here that they're so beautiful for our meditation. He says, with your fields, ponds, roots, grass, and the shade of your trees, you nourish the cows at every moment. In this way, you make your name successful and known throughout 3 worlds. Oh, Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. We are praying for residence by the side of Giriraj. Nija Nikate Nivasham Dehi Govardhan Tvam. This is the aspiration of the sadhaks, is to live in the shade of Giriraj Maharaj. Even if you live outside of Bharatvash, if you live in the Western world, you can still take shelter. The Govardhan Shilas are so available. They're so accessible. He's made himself accessible all across the planet right now. There are thousands, probably millions of homes where Govardhan Shilas are being worshipped today all across the world. So Giriraj, we know his Leela was to expand and contract. In the spiritual world, he's also expanding and contracting. There's many of the pastimes about it. But now, actually, he's expanded exponentially all across the planet. In so many people's homes today, we'll be offering this Annakuta festival, like we described the other day in Badger, when we're in Badger, California on this day, traditionally, and we would do the same festival exactly as we do here in Govardhan itself. We'd all go with baskets on our heads, etc., place them at the lotus feet of Giriraj and sing bhajans to Giriraj. My Gurudev would offer puja, etc., all in a mood of honoring this Haridasa Varya, this greatest servant of Krishna, and we are honoring him. So scripture is saying that if we honor Krishna's devotee, this is even greater than honor. Krishna becomes more pleased by this worship of his devotee. He becomes more pleased. So today is so important for us to honor Giriraj in this mood. And Raghunath is also saying, Sri Krishna, the enemy of Aghasura and Bakasura, showed you great honor, turning you into a new home by holding you aloof, you aloft, thus protecting the Brijvasis from the deep hostility of Indra. Without delay, O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. If we pray for this in our hearts, if our hearts are sincere and we're sincerely praying for this, the feet will follow the heart, isn't it? If we are sincere, if we really want to come to Govardhan, if that's our real desire, the feet must follow the heart, right? So we should consider that. Then he says, oh Giriraj, your sweet title, Haridasa Varya, best of the servants of Sri Hari, issued from the moonlight face of Srimati Radhika. She is saying Haridasa Varya in the Venu Geet, verse 17, I think it is, glorifying this verse I've already said, this Hantarya Madira Balahari Savari. This is from the Venu Geet. This is Sri Radhika herself giving the title of Haridasa Varya to Giriraj. So Raghunath is taking this up. Your sweet title, Haridasa Varya, best of the servants of Sri Hari, issued from the moonlight face of Sri Radhika. The Vedas have clearly determined you to be the fresh tilak of Braj. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. This tilak signifies the victory. It signifies glory, the glory of the devotee. It's our emblem. It's our flag. And Giriraj, he represents that emblem in the whole entirety of Braj. So how powerful, and auspicious is Giriraj. So potent. Today here in Govardhan itself, there are hundreds and thousands, lakhs. Are there millions of people? Could even be millions of people today. Because today, traditionally, in India is Diwali. So this is the festive holiday in the whole year, the biggest. Everyone gets a 4-day leave. And so many sincere sadhaks come to the shelter of Giriraj for this day. The sweet shops are packed and they're selling sweets everywhere. Everyone is intoxicated with sugar and their eardrums are blasted out by the sounds of firecrackers all night long. So no one sleeps. They all eat lots of sugar and they get choked by the gunpowder from the, but this is a festival. So everyone tolerates it with great happiness, you know, no one is complaining ever. So it's a very festive, special day today. And my Gurudev, who is a complete Brijabasi, we all know Gurudev's extent of being a Brijabasi. He was so enthusiastic about the Brajamandal Parikram himself. He would be so sincerely collecting all us from the Western worlds to bring us here in so many buses. Yes, he's here on the screen now. Yes, open it wider. Wider again. Yeah. You can see. This looks like it's in Baja or it's in Govardhan. This is in Baja. This is in Baja. I can tell by the little place behind me. That's in Baja. But the same in Govardhan. The same in Govardhan. So my Gurudev would so enthusiastically perform this festival. That must be by Canis Maharaj there, performing there. Very wonderful, very wonderful. So yes, today, understanding Giriraj's identity, understanding the mood that Krishna honors him with so much special seva of sheltering all his most dear and loved residents of Braj for so long. So this pastime is immaculate. So Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Gau Premanandi, Haribo, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Vipas in the Vayacha, Patitanam Pavnivyo, Vaishnavevyo, Namo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for that and for continuing, even though you're struggling with the cough there. Thank you so much. Beautiful Harikatha. And yeah, like you said, the potency of Giriraj remains the same despite any of the current circumstances. So we will all relish that. I see there's a message on the group there. Mahabodhi Das, who was born in Govardhan, very auspicious, Prabhu. Okay, so we continue our program now, and our next speaker is Shripad Bhaktivedanta Vekanis Maharaj. Maharaj, the floor is yours.
Okay. Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamanapeta Apeta Krityam Drapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivanarottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Abhatya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashchakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Papanda Brinde Namaste Charanadavindam Tavevasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha So at the end of his Raghunath Das Goswami's Govardhan Vasa Pratana Dashakam, Nija Nikatani Vasam Dehi Govardhana Tvam. Oh, you are without comparison, the king of mountains, O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Govardhan Astakam, Govardhano me deshatam abhishtam, may that Govardhan fulfill our desire, my desire. So offering our most humble, grateful, astonished obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and the same unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, of course our exalted Guru Varga. This is a very special day, right? Because this is the day of where Krishna himself instituted the worship of Giriraj Govardhan, right? The beautiful, wonderful thing about Sri Krishna is the devotees worship Krishna, but Krishna worships his devotees, as we heard. And it's so nice hearing from Chaitanya Maharaj because having attended so many of these festivals under the direct guidance of Srila Gurudev, so many impressions are in his heart that he's sharing with us. But those pictures you showed, and he said, "Oh, there's icons." I remember that day when we used to go to Govardhan. When Gurudev was first doing this, we stayed at the Modi Bhavans, and almost right across from the Modi Bhavan on the Parikram Marg is this beautiful little stali where Giriraj, there's the mountain coming up, but in front of that where you can walk, there's a very large Shila and a platform around it. And we would go there. Everyone would bring on their heads the plates of the different prasad. We'd put them all over the hill. And Gurudev would do Abhishek on that Shila, as described another day. And so many ingredients and it quite phenomenal. But I remember one time, one of our godbrothers, Brajendra Nandan, he was always greedy for nectar, right? So the Shila's wide like this, and the crowds are pushing. And if you do get up on that platform with Gurudev, it's very slippery. And he was up there and people are pushing and he slipped and he fell and he wrapped his arms around the Shila and Gurudev's feet are right by his head. And as Govardhan was being bathed, he was being bathed in the remnants of all that liquid, honey, yogurt, milk, sugar. And when the whole thing was over, he was completely covered. And then, of course, Brajendra being Brajendra, he had to roll in the dust. And we were taking prasad, and he was sitting there soaking, covered in the dust of Govardhan. I mean, he looked, like a Govardhan Shila himself with his eyes, all you could see was his eyes. And I asked him, "What happened to you?" And then he described that. We were all there, but we couldn't see him because he was surrounded by people. It was very, very festive time. But the one where I'm in the picture, we, by this time, had moved into the Giridhari Govardhan Gaudiya Map. And so it was very far to go to the other place. So we would take our plates and walk through the town and then go down to this nearby place, down the Parikram Road. And Gurudev would take us all there. And he would himself personally, there was a fence, so you couldn't go onto Giriraj, and so he's reaching over the fence and doing Abhishek, and somehow I got to be there right next to him and had my right hand on his hand while he's bathing, and my left hand, I was holding my chadar because it was a very hot sunny day over Gurudev's head. And I thought, this is the perfection of my life, right? If nothing else, I do nothing else. If I can just remember this moment, being there, bathing Giriraj, actually just, sometimes you see people doing that. They can't directly do it, but they put their hand on the arm of the person who is doing it. And I was doing that. And then Gurudev stepped aside. I got to bathe a little bit. And then there was a place where we'd all go to hear Gurudev's lecture. And of course, everybody wanted to be as close as they could to Gurudev. So as soon as Gurudev went back to that place, everybody swarmed there. But Gurudev stood at the door and he held up his hand and said, if you've not done Abhishek, go back and do Abhishek first. You must do Abhishek, right? And then you can come and hear the lecture. Fortunately, I had done Abhishek so I could get close, right? So we also have to do Abhishek. I just realized that's we're planning our own little festival, but we're so short-handed here. Got like, half a dozen people. Any case, these memories are coming. I could tell stories about incidences, but we want to hear about this pastime itself. And so there are many different sources that describe this pastime. And Sri Maharaj has touched on a lot of different aspects of it, but you can find beautiful descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you read the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he unpacks the statements of Shukadev Goswami and gives us more detail. Then, of course, there's Gopal Champu, beautiful, beautiful description by Jiva Goswami, narrated by Snigdha and Madhukant, right? And then there's also Ananda Vrindavan Champu, which has a whole nother kind of mood and vision of the pastime. And there's Garga Samhita, where Garga Rishi wrote, and one devotee here asked a question, when did Giriraj get lifted, and did they happen in sequence? Did he go back? All these descriptions, sometimes they're descriptions from different days of Lord Brahma. These pastimes are eternal, but they manifest differently a little bit at different times. When you read the description of Garga Rishi, he says very clearly this was in a different day of Brahma. He says in a different yuga. And so some of the details are a little different. And according to your perception or angle of vision, you may see things differently. So I thought what to speak about. So I thought, let's hear from Jiva Goswami because he has this really interesting description about the beginning of the festival, right? The very beginning of the festival when Krishna's encouraging everyone. I'm not going to read so much what brought the festival on. That's in the Bhagavatam, and that's Krishna when he's inquiring from his father. This is the prelude. And even though Krishna had seen this festival many times, because by now he's 7 years old, so this goes on every year. And so he knew what they were doing. But he had a certain desire now. Now he's becoming older. And his desire to relate with his different kinds of devotees, it's becoming more and more mature, especially the gopis. So in this lifting of Govardhan Hill, there are elements where his and the gopis' purvarag begins to increase more and more and more, right? And that will be revealed in the description of when they're all under the hill. But he has also a desire to curb the pride of the demigods, especially Lord Indra. And he's very angry with Lord Indra because Lord Indra is accepting worship from his most dear devotees, the Brajbasis, his most dear eternal associates. And he realizes that Indra now has become overwhelmed by pride. And that's not surprising. Pratishta is the most final and largest obstacle to absolute pure devotion. And Indra is the king of the demigods. He's worshipped by all. He's the protector of all. He's the leader of the demigods, other than Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, right? And of course, Vishnu himself was somewhat aloof. He's the king. And he's receiving worship from everyone. And it's very intoxicating. And Krishna wanted to correct him, curb that, but also demonstrates something very special about the supremacy of his Braj devotees and make it so Indra doesn't think that he's entitled to this, right? And so by his own internal energy, this pastime will take place. So yes, Indra's committing a great offense. He is dragging other demigods into it, but there's also the influence of his own Shakti. It's not of Krishna's Shakti. It's not just like with Lord Brahma. It's not that he's a complete envious demon like Kamsa, right? He becomes overwhelmed temporarily, right? But it's all good because this marvelous pastime gets to take place. So Krishna instigates a conversation with his father. Why are we worshiping Giriraj? And he gives so many arguments from the point of view of karma mamamsa and sankhya. In other words, karma mamamsa means that you don't have to worship demigods because everything that we get, whether it's rain, grains, everything, that's coming about by our own karma, our previous past deeds. And even though Indra appears to be rewarding it, he's just a figurehead. He has to do it. It's his job. The real result is coming about by your previous pious deeds, right? You don't have to worship Indra, right? And then Sankhya, about cause and effect. These philosophies are very similar to atheistic modern scientific conceptions. They don't see the conscious personalities behind everything. They don't see ultimately the will of the Lord. They only see immediate cause and effect. So Krishna gives these arguments, and Jiva Goswami says the arguments were not very good. They were somewhat flawed, but because Krishna is so beloved by everybody, they were really charmed by his words. And ultimately, he pointed directly to what they could see as the real cause. Who's causing the rain? Giriraj, this huge mountain. He's holding up the clouds, and thus the rain falls here. Giriraj is the source. He's got so many streams, lakes, beautiful grass, trees, all the sources of nourishment and necessity. These are coming from Giriraj. We can see him. We're Vaishyas. There are different kinds of Vaishyas. There are Vaishyas who grow crops. There are Vaishyas who engage in trade as merchants. There are Vaishyas who, like bankers, they deal in gold. And then there are us who protect the cows. That's actually the highest kind. And because we're that kind of Vaishya, our objects of worship are the cows and the brahmanas, and Giriraj, who is giving us the ingredients to support both. So let's worship Giriraj. And everybody becomes charmed by that. Yes, 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 yes. And so let me just read this little thing that Jiva Goswami says through the voices of, I think it's Sniktha and Madhukant. Krishna has spoken well thought out atheistic views. Madhukant is thinking like this. Only outside of the Vedas, only as a pastime of defeating Indra for his many crooked ideas, and not to reject the Vedas. Because of his great affection for them, these ideas do not seriously apply to the leaders of Braj, who are the crested jewels of knowledge, having faith in the final goals of life mentioned in the Vedas, since Krishna's mood is accepted as the highest by the gurus and knowledge of God. In other words, he's saying that we're under the laws of karma, that the modes of material nature, this governs our action, but actually not. These are the highest personalities, completely transcendent. Aho bhagyam, nanda gopa vijam jalkasam, yan mitram paramananandam, purna brahma sanatanam. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men and all the other inhabitants of Brajabhumi, right? There's no limit to their good fortune, because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal supreme Brahman, has become their friend. So, what he spoke with the desire to defeat Indra, because he couldn't say the demigods are my servants. He couldn't say I'm God, they should serve me. So he set up this other kind of argument, right? But it was for the highest purpose, to worship his greatest devotee, right? In the sense that this devotee, more than any other, is serving all the Brajbasis, including the gopis. We know the gopis are the greatest devotees, but Giriraj is serving them. And Giriraj has come from the heart of Srimati Radhika herself. So he wanted to hold a festival of the greatest joy. So they carried this out. And I'm going to read this description because this is really glorious. Now, imagine ourselves standing now. At first, they were actually, when he spoke this in the Bhagavatam, it says this all started out in the place where Krishna had met the Mathura Brahmanis, right? And then they went to Govardhan to do the festival. He convinced them all there because that's where they were originally organizing. And then they go to Govardhan. So here's what they did. Here's what they did. In order to carry out this alternative worship, okay, here we are. And we're just watching the Brajbasis gather together at the foot of Giriraj. And they ornamented the peaks of Govardhan, which increased everyone's joy, with flags and canopies of various colors, and worshipped the hill using the best ingredients, such as padyam and argyam, attractive with fine fragrances and prepared with attention. They made offerings everywhere on Govardhan in the form of hills, with ghee resembling waterfalls, with various colored vegetables resembling the gorica minerals on the cliffs, with unsurpassable rivers of milk and lakes of yogurt. The various peaks would later be well known by the names of the sweets like Apukika and Shashukulika. So we could think, like Sandesh Hill, right? Para Mountain, right? All these different kinds of sweets, right? Gulabjaman Hill, right? All these sweets were piled so high, they look like separate mountain peaks on Giriraj. All these sweet rice and lassis and dals, all these liquids were like lakes. And the tumult of various types of music, they were all singing, and the demigods were even singing, the Apsaras and others, Ashvini Kumars, right? It was so loud and transcendental, the noise went to Svarga itself. And Indra's beginning to hear this, right? And so, what happened? They had hills of chapatis, gigantic mounds of rice everywhere, the mountain completely covered in prasadam. There's descriptions of, they give numerical descriptions, which, it's actually billions of pounds of rice and chapatis and all of this, right? And what happened? A huge form of Krishna appeared. The cause of people seeing Krishna as small in comparison to this form was their limited intelligence. So he was huge. He looked just like Krishna. That may have occurred to them, but they didn't equate. They couldn't equate, oh, this is actually Krishna himself. And they became bewildered, and poets are saying, is this a gold and black effulgence? Is it a cloud with lightning? Or is it a mountain shining with minerals? Or is it Krishna appearing in an expanded form? That thought might flit through their minds. But this huge form surpasses a mountain of lampblack. Its clothing surpasses the evening cloud. Its ornaments surpass the effulgence of the sun. Its crown is like 1,000 strong branches laden with the best flowers. This Lord of the mountain causes astonishment to my eyes. Remember, because Giriraj, he's dressed like Krishna. The ornaments are also the ornaments of Braj. So Krishna wears a turban of leaves and vines at times, right? Decorated like that. Giriraj, similarly decorated. And then the sweet form called Krishna, expert at defeating even the cleverness of Brahma, inquired with humility. Because everyone else is completely bewildered and stunned. They don't know what to do. So Krishna, in order to direct everything, calls out, "O Lord, who are you?" Rumbling like thunder to make the clouds wander. With meaning to make clouds stop moving, Govardhan spoke. O members of an unprecedented festival, I am the mountain, right? So, uh, so Krishna, everyone starts going, oh, they're all talking and shouting. They're all confused. They're all excited, right? So Krishna has to come and direct the crowd. And he says, oh, this divine being is worthy of our respects, since it has produced direct faith by accepting to manifest this huge expanded form out of his eagerness and compassion. In other words, like he said, did Indra ever come? Have you ever seen Indra? No. Govardhan is confirming everything that we believe by appearing directly before us, right? And so then Krishna and Balaram immediately, they do Dandavat pranams on the ground, and everybody else, astonished, they all do the same thing, right? And so Govardhan's increasing everyone's joys, right? And again, speaks Govardhan. The devatas see themselves as different from you, right? In other words, they think they're high and mighty and you're just their servants. I do not see myself as different from you, because Krishna, he's a Brajbasi. Giriraj is a special form of Krishna. Giriraj is saying, we all have an intimate relationship. You and I are the same. I am also of Vrindavan. Now look, I will eat what is given to me in full view. Now this description I absolutely love. After saying this, Govardhan ate 10 million adikas of cooked rice. I don't know what an adika is, but it must be a lot. A mound is something like 80 kilos, right? Something like that. Oh, goodness gracious, what's an adika? Of cooked rice, vegetable preparations. On each peak, he ate a mouthful. Then, drawing all the water from lakes, ponds, and rivers, he depleted them all. His mystic potency, everything's coming to him. When he stretched out his hand to take food in front of him, immediately all the food came to him from all sides, just as sparrows come flying on seeing grains. The chapatis were, like a slinky, they're coming up and coming at him. Rice is coming at him, sweets, everything is flying into his hands and into his mouth from all directions. What a sight. Putting the vegetables in the middle, he devoured the piles of rice with his right hand and mocked Indra by wiggling the tip of the index finger of his left hand. Is this the index finger? Well, who are you, Indra? You're so proud. Look at what I'm doing. And with his hands, he quickly consumed huge quantities of food. All directions became filled with his hands extending and retrieving. So now he's manifesting thousands of hands, and they're in every direction, eating and eating. The women of Braj were able to see this. This was astonishing. Among many things, many astonishing things, since no rice at all remained, though it was so abundant that it could not be counted. As Govardhan, king of mountains, continued to eat, more food was prepared in order to satisfy his appetite. So they're frantically cooking faster and faster. And in Vrindavan, they can cook very fast, right? And they're putting more and more. And so what's going on? Different people are reacting in different ways. Little children, they're going, they're expressing fear. The youth, they're laughing. Oh, look at this, look at this. Elderly, very experienced people were astonished, and qualified people, they showed devotion. Govardhan was fully satisfied with all of them. These are all transformations of prema. It's not that there is no devotion and they're acting in a material way. These are all varieties of moods, and Govardhan is reciprocating. And he gathered water from a great distance repeatedly, washed his mouth, and spit out the water, right? Which created rain, which fell on his back and made grass sprout. After washing his mouth, he took bamboo sticks. What does that mean? Full-grown bamboo. You've seen that, right? You ever been seeing full-grown bamboo? It can go 20, 30 feet high. That's like a toothpick for him. And he's using that to clean his teeth. And having shown this form to satisfy living beings, he then withdrew it, right? And then making piles of betel nut, he began chewing it with pride. His face was glowing as brilliant as the morning sun. Now it's time for arti. Oh, how are they going to do that to this huge form? They didn't know what to do. Again, Krishna stepped forward, and with a lamp of an artik lamp of 1,000 flames, he begins to do the artik. And now the mountain had become conscious, seeing that, and that it desired, searched and took. The people placed their hands on their heads in astonishment and stood up, giving blessings to all. The benefactor mountain then suddenly disappeared. Offering respects, the people stood for a few moments, motionless like pictures. Now, Krishna says this, see, this mountain has mercifully shown this huge form and eaten all the food. It seems that anyone who disrespects him will be punished. Since he has taken Indra's offering, he must be very powerful. With great faith, they then worship the cows, which possess the highest prema. So they worship the cows, which we do, as Chaitanya Maharaj explained, the single cow. You couldn't worship them all. They picked out, just even there, they had to worship a single cow because there were so many hundreds of thousands of cows. And they were all covered in beautiful cloth. And they did parikram. They worshipped the Brahmins, they worshipped the cows, they worshipped Krishna. They were in very beautiful clothes. The Yamuna was near there. Everything was done very beautiful. And there's a lot of pastime that goes on, which we can't describe so much. But I kind of recommend, it doesn't take that long. If you get to Gopal Champu, you can read these few chapters. Very, very beautiful. Then everybody goes home that night, and the next day, there's what is it called? The Bhatrika something. It's the day when the sisters worship the brothers and give them this little bracelet, and they do prayers and puja, praying for the welfare of their brothers, who they see as their well-wishers and protectors. And that's the day Indra became fully aware of what was going on and became very angry, right, with the Brajbasis and with Krishna, and decided to retaliate, right? So much time do we have? Okay, because there's two parts here in this Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Now, one part describes the fearsome clouds and what they were like. I've never read a description quite like that. It could give you a sense of the power and the horror that would be perceived by people when they saw this. These clouds, these Samvartaka clouds, it's described that they're bound and held in check until the appropriate time of the pralaya, when they are then released to flood the universe with water. They have that much power, and they flood the universe all the way up. At partial pralayas, they flood up to Maharloka. Those planets, those sages planets, are not affected. But at the end, all the way up, everything is flooded, right? So they have so much power. So they're all there. They're having a great time. They're going to the house of Upananda, because Upananda is the brother of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's uncle, and his daughter. Her name is Sunanda also. She puts on a big feast for Krishna, who's her cousin brother. And so this is an opportunity. She's friends with all the gopis, and they say, oh, we're going to visit our friend, right? But because they know she's inviting Krishna, so they all come, and Krishna invites all his friends. And then they get served out all these wonderful sweets, and Madhu Mangal, he's laughing and saying, oh, you should have 365 sisters so that we could do this every day. You know, and he's enjoying all the sweets and all the food, right? But meanwhile, now, Indra, he's got a headache. He's so angry. And so he wants revenge. And so he calls these clouds. and he condemns the cowherd men. In the Bhagavatam, when you read that description, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur shows how the insults of Indra are actually, there's double meaning to them. If you read the insult itself, the direct translation, it sounds like he's criticizing, but he says Saraswati, the goddess Saraswati, is dancing on his tongue, and the other meaning, it's full of praise, right? So again, it shows that yes, he's acting out in a terrible way, but in another sense, he's also praising Krishna. So he calls these clouds, and these clouds come, we're your servants, we will do your bidding. Indra is very affectionate to his servants because they're going to do his bidding. I want you to go there. You're so powerful. Go there and drown Vrindavan, right? So there's a lot of description of this, but they say being released from the task of devastating the universe at a particular time, some Vartaka and other servants of Indra, they come forward. Okay, you want to see what we can do? First, a vast bank of clouds appeared like a huge patch of moss in the sky, blocking out the sun and covering Vrindavan in total darkness. This is what happens first, complete darkness. Not only Vrindavan, extending from Rasatala to Svargaloka, the cloud covering looked like smoky breath exhaled by the Naga snakes. So these clouds are from the bottom of the universe all the way to Swarga. That's how powerful they are. They're released from their bonds, right? And now they're doing what they like to do. They spread across the entire sky. They appeared massive, like celestial elephants, right? All these different, because it's not just one cloud, there's all these servant clouds, right? And they're expanding without any fear. One fantastically large cloud bank appeared like a second Loka Loka mountain range. The Loka Loka mountain range surrounds our planetary system, and it's so high and powerful that the sun beyond it doesn't shine. So this cloud is so massive, it blocks out the entire sun, just like that Loka Loka mountain range. And the peaks of these clouds are going higher and higher, expanding in all directions. They put all the planetary systems in darkness. Even the sharpest axe could not cut through the dense network of clouds that assembled over Vrindavan. Physically manifest just absolute darkness and fearsome thunder, rain, right? And then when it describes the entire universe was like black, like soot on the bottom of a pot. And then the rains are coming, right? The rains are coming, and the rains, it's like water coming like a breaking dam. If you've ever seen a picture of a massive dam breaking, this is what was being released from the clouds. Instead of like individual drops, they were like columns of rain pouring down. And of course, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan are scattering everywhere, so distressed. And they all call to Krishna, right? They all call to Krishna. And Krishna says, oh, follow me, follow me. And he runs to Govardhan. And something very amazing is described that when he runs to Govardhan, for that moment, the water stops, can't touch him. And he's completely dry when he gets to Govardhan because he's coming from Nandagan. And we had an experience like that one time. One year in Bangalore, we lived in this really nice neighborhood, and we did a big Janmashtami festival. And if it's auspicious, it's supposed to be rain after the Artik and the Yagya and the Abhishek. And so just at midnight, when we were bathing Krishna, the heavens opened up. I'd never seen rain like that anywhere in Bangalore, right? In South India. Even though we had a huge panda with a tin roof, the rain was so high that it was breaking through the roof, and the road next to us turned into a river, right? And so we had to get the deities into the house, right? And so we picked them up. They were very heavy. And our pondo was right next to our house because we had this giant lot, huge. I mean, we had like thousands of people in this pondo. And I got to the edge of the pondo and had to go outside to go to our house. I thought, how are we going to do this? They're going to get soaked. The rain completely stopped. Completely stopped. And then we ran in the house, and then the rain started again, right? And then we also found out the next day when we read the paper, there was a strange storm in Bangalore that only appeared in one part of Bangalore, where we were, right? There were other temples, there's Ritwik temples, this kind. It didn't go anywhere, but it went where we were, you know. So this is what happened with Krishna. He just decided to stop the rain. All right. And then everybody comes, and then he comes to this place of Govardhan, and he just lifts it. And the Gopal Champu is described that he lifts it. And even though everybody's there watching him, nobody could understand exactly how it was done. And if you think about it, I mean, it's like the ropes, that we heard about, always 2 fingers too short. Even though there are piles of ropes sitting there, it couldn't go around his waist. So how do you lift a mountain? Did he put his hand underneath it? What happened? Did it, we understand that Giriraj also, he could raise up by his own will, right? That by Radhika's will, it was brought up, but somehow nobody can understand exactly how it happened. But Krishna goes under, and with one hand, everything comes up. And he steps inside, and I'm going to read this little section where Krishna's encouraging everybody, because he wants them all to come, but obviously everyone's afraid because the mountain is huge. It's huge. It's like, miles and miles wide, miles and miles long. We're going to get under that. So while holding Giriraj in one hand, Krishna, whose wonderful behavior illuminates the world, spoke convincingly to the cowherd community. Oh, mother, do not be in anxiety. Father, don't worry. Friends, do not doubt my ability. Giriraj will not fall from my hand. You directly saw how he personally accepted our worship. Is it then difficult for him to remain suspended in the sky? Although Giriraj appears to be a huge immovable mountain, he is transcendently situated beyond the doubts and comprehension of this material world. Look how light he is. Even a child like me can easily pick him up. Oh, just see, Giriraj is completely independent and moving according to his own sweet will. In this matter, I am but an instrument. And it's described elsewhere, and Srila Prabhupada uses this in his Krishna book. He lifted up just as easily as a child lifts up a frog's umbrella, a mushroom. That's how light he was. Therefore, collect all your property, come under the mountain. There is no difference between the village of Vrindavan and this valley below Giriraj. Be happy and stay here peacefully. There's going to be another description. And the Gopal Champu, what Tridani Maharaj described, is there. That where they went was like a huge mansion with rooms for all facility was there, ceiling illuminated with jewels. Sometimes you see pictures and Krishna's lifting it up and there's roots coming down and there's dirt and it looks, no, underneath Giriraj was like a beautiful ornate ceiling bedecked with jewels, naturally illuminating everything. Rooms, walls, water, streams of water everywhere, all facilities, right, were there. But there's going to be another description here, which is quite beautiful. So he says, at the end of the Kalpa, everyone lives in the abdomen of Narayan in their subtle bodies. Staying there, however, you could not enjoy as much fun as you can by living here within the belly of Giriraj. Who needs to go to Lord Narayan? Let's go to this beautiful place arranged by Giriraj. And if you're worried about the rain, he's saying, when I lifted the hill, huge chunks of earth fell off the bottom and formed a natural boundary wall around the perimeter of Giriraj. This wall will keep out the torrential rains. Forget about your pleasure gardens and your attachments to your former residences. They're worried about everything that was destroyed, appeared to be destroyed. Let this place become the source of joyful pastimes for the cows, the gopas, and the gopis. In the Garga Samhita, it's described that Anantadev himself wrapped himself around Giriraj like a barrier, like a dam, so no water could come in. And Gopal Champa was described that even though so much water was pouring off the sides of Giriraj, nothing reached the ground and everything was dry. So according to your perception or the pastime, right? This string of Govardhana Dari, Krishna's assuring words, resembled an elegant necklace made from the nectar of his voice. This is Kavi Kanapur, right? The great poet. Immediately, the elderly gopas felt completely pacified by Krishna's sweet words. And so they all went in there. There's a beautiful description of everybody going there. And then what do they see? They clearly saw that the valley beneath Govardhan, which dazzled attractively in the light, could easily accommodate all their innumerable cows, animals, and family members. So it's a beautiful valley, right? It just felt, he says the valley brimmed with gratifying sense objects to see, touch, taste, and so on. That divine place was the very ornament of the earth. Its purity and opulence exceeded the wealth of the subterranean heavenly planets like Sutala. Fields of rich green barley spread in all directions, and many lakes full of crystal clear water stood here and there, right? And so it's described how everybody's there in their own little groups, right? Krishna's friends are by his side. Balaram and the cowherd boyfriends are in front. And so they were all joyful. They didn't feel any fear or discomfort from Indra's deluge. The rain falling from the roaring clouds, it sounded like water pouring from the mouths of many large water pots. Just like if there's a huge storm, but you're inside, dry and warm, the sound of the rain is very pleasing, right? So whatever is going outside, we're under Govardhan. We're in this most delightful, wonderful place, actually the peak of the transcendental realm, right? Because it's described by Rupa Goswami of all wonderful places. There's Vaikuntha, there's Dwarka, there's Vrindavan, and then there's Govardhan, right? Underneath Govardhan, the most beautiful, comforting, happy place, the happy place of all the Brajbasis, right? And so he was holding up Govardhan Hill, surrounded by all his loving associates. They gazed at Krishna with joyful faces, prayed for his victory, or affectionately smelled his head. What are Mother Rohini and Mother Rohini? Sometimes she's embracing Balaram, right? The gopis, both Radhika's group and Chandravali's group, submissive and contrary groups, they smiled blissfully while looking at Krishna with love-laden glances. The gopis always play with Krishna and enjoy love sports in the forest of Vrindavan. And now, gazing at him, they looked like thirsty chakori birds, constantly drinking the ambrosial radiance of his moon-like face. With unblinking eyes, they took Krishna within their hearts and lovingly embraced him. During the festival of lifting Govardhan Hill, everyone tasted the greatest ecstasy. So in the Gopal Champu, it's described so many things are going on. In Krishna's, with his left hand, he's holding up the hill, and his mothers, Rohini and Jashoda, are massaging the hand, and they're feeding him butter, drinks, because they think, oh, he's tired, he's hungry, we have to feed him. With his right hand, he's playing the flute, And in front of him, Balaram, Madhu Mangal, and others are dancing Sridham, Subal, very happily, entertaining everybody with their clever dancing, right? And off to just one side, but very close, are the gopis, Radhika and others, right? Who now, unobstructed, because everybody's there, all the rules and regulations are abandoned at this point. Everybody's one big happy group. They can get so close to Krishna, and for an entire week, they can gaze at him happily with no obstruction and no interference. But Krishna has to be very careful because when he glanced over at Radhika and her dear friends, his heart, so filled with prema, his hand begins to tremble, right? And then everybody goes, the cowherd boys, they put their sticks up. There's a little quote by Madhu Mangal, Batu, by my Brahma Tejas, I will fill you with happiness. Why are you troubling yourself by lifting Giriraj? Oh, lotus-eyed one, just order me and I will hold up this great mountain on the tip of my stick, right? But Radhika, as Chaitanya Maharaj said, did he say today? Or said, should have Dwaita saying the other day? Somebody said, everybody said, Radhika glancing with a sidelong glance at Giriraj, if you sink even 1 millimeter, I'll burn you to ashes. So there's this extraordinary festival. I was going to read this, the thing I really wanted to read about was the arguments among the different devotees, love arguments about what's going on and what to do. Mother Jashoda has one kind of feeling. Madhu Mangal has another feeling. The cowherd men have another feeling. The gopis have another feeling. And they're arguing with each other about how to take care of Krishna, what's going on, what to do. And they're all expressing their different moods of prema. It's so extraordinary. Say, like I'll just read one little section because we have to end here. Yashoda is telling Madhu Mangal, or telling her son, how can you not be tired by standing there for so long and holding that mountain with your raised arm? Intelligent one, I believe what you said, if Govardhan gives up the joyful association of your lotus hand and then flies around the sky playing on his own, but Batu says, oh, Queen of Vrindavan, don't you know that this great mountain is sitting on the lotus hand of Krishna by the strength of my mantras and special powers? Therefore, my friend is not feeling any pain by holding Giriraj. This is natural because everyone is favorably disposed to the Lord of their hearts. So he's, taking credit. She's feeling something else. Then she says, oh, you impudent one, what kind of nonsense are you speaking? I am burning in anxiety over my son. His tendency is to act independently without caring for any good instructions. And now you come here, make jokes and laugh about it, right? So, and Nanda Maharaj jumps in. Why are you scolding Madhu Mangal Batu? In this world, a person who is expert in diplomacy will use very affectionate words to encourage one in such a trying situation. So understanding the need of the time, Batu spoke appropriately. Besides that, our dear son very much appreciates the words of Batu. Mother Jashoda, she doesn't always appreciate these cowherd boys, right? They act impudently. They play with Krishna roughly. She has some mood towards them sometimes. Her motherly love doesn't accommodate their playful ways at times. So this and other arguments are going on, and all are expressing their prema. It's quite a few pages. I just wanted to introduce the idea. And then there are so many things that go on after that, but you cannot possibly describe all of this in an hour and a half, 45 minutes. So having tasted this a little bit, having had a glimpse of this extraordinary pastime, we pray to Giriraj Maharaj, who is the benefactor and one who is expert in serving in all of the rasas, including the Shringar Ras, the most confidential, because he is the friend of Radha and Krishna. He is the witness to these most confidential pastimes. And Krishna arranged for Giriraj to do this so that he could engage in all the rasas simultaneously with his intimate associates. And so we pray to Giriraj, please give us a place by your side. Make us eligible to engage. Let's witness these pastimes. And we pray to our gurus, Srila Narayana Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, who took us there, who guided us, who gave us the opportunity to directly serve Giriraj and honor him, right? We pray to them, and we engage on this day to our fullest extent in serving Giriraj, cooking for him, doing Abhishek, glorifying him. We're so fortunate, and again, thanking the organizers of this and all the speakers that we get this chance to do this. All right, so I'll stop here. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. That was so beautiful. The way you narrated all the leelas and the special touches that you add with your beautiful memories with Srila Gurudev. And I especially enjoyed the story of the rain in Bangalore. Amazing, absolutely amazing how the rain stopped. Beautiful. I think that brings us to the end of our program. We'll close with Kirtan by Taruni Didi. Just before I close out, I just want to say tomorrow's program is we're going to Kelavan, Ramgarh, Biharvan, Chirghat, and Garud Govind. So you can join us tomorrow for more nectar. But now over to Didi for some Kirtan. Didi, are you able to unmute?
Hare Krishna, can you? Sorry, my husband's just logged on.
No problem, Didi. I'm sharing the
Do you
link.
unmute him? Huh? Let me leave on here.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. I'm sorry, I thought there was another speaker. So, but I was going to sing the Govardhan Ashtakam by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Krishna prasadena samasta shaila samrajamabnoti javairinopi sakrasya prabhavalim sasakshat govardhano me dishatam abhishtam swaprishthahastam bhujaso kumarya sukha Anubhute Adibhumi Vrite Mahendra Vajra Hatimapyachanam Govardhano me Dishatam Abhishtam Yadraiva Krishno Vrishabhanu Puja Danam Grihitum Kalaham Vitene Shrute Sprihavyatra Mahajyatakshi Govardhano me Dishatam Abhishtam Snava Sarasvashu Samirahasti Yatraiva Nipadi Paragatuli Alolayangela Dichara Sashi Govardhano me dishatamabhishtam kasturikabhishayitam kimachati uham prabhu swasya moho vitamvan naisagika sviya shila sugandhai Govardhano me dishatam abhishtam vamsha pradahitva nyanuswaravatma didrikshavo yatra harim harinya yantya labhante nahi vismitasha Govardhano me dishatam abhishtam yadraiva gangam anunaviradham aryo majetu Magnanoka Krishna Hiradhanugalo Pavosa Govardhano me dishatam abhishtam Vina Pavet Kim Haridasavarya Padashayam Bhakti Shayami Yameva Saprema Nijeshayo Shri Govardhano me dishatam abhishtam Etat patedyo haridasavarya Mahanubhavashtakamadhyacheta Shirarika madhavayo padabja Dasyam savindet achidena sakshat Govardhana me dishatam abhishtam Govardhana me dishatam abhishtam Govardhana me dishatam abhishtam Govardhana me dishatam abhishtam Jaya Giri Raja Jaya Govardhana Jaya Giri Raja Jaya Govardhana Jaya Giri Raja Jaya
Govardhana Jaya Giriraja Jaya Govardhana
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya
Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Haribol 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 Gaur Haribol
Nitai
Nitai
Gaura Haribo
Haribol
Haribo
Haribol
Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo
Jai Shri Gaur Premanande Haribol
Haribo. Thank you, Devi. Dandavat pranam.